I guarantee that there are way more cruise ships and cruise lines sailing than you realise. 2020 hasn't been fantastic for cruises, but there's cruises happening all over the world, and they're not on little cruise ships either. Some of them have thousands of passengers. Some are even heading back to the Caribbean, which is very exciting. The first cruise line that started sailing recently and has been sailing a lot is MSC. MSC have actually managed to do 8 sailings on the MSC Grandiosa, which is amazing. They've actually turned away 100 people from those 8 cruises, either because they showed up with coronavirus, they were travelling with somebody with coronavirus, or they didn't have a proper coronavirus test and all the paperwork in place to take that cruise. I think that is fantastic because it shows that these processes work, and MSC haven't had any positive coronavirus cases on their cruise ships, and they're leading the way for us returning to cruising. MSC are actually part of the Mediterranean Shipping Company. They're an Italian cruise line. They're registered in Switzerland, and I think that's really helped them in 2020. 2020 has been an awful year for cruise lines, but as far as shipping goes, things are still being shipped around the world, so it's probably helped MSC that they're not just a cruise line. MSC are actually the 4th largest cruise line. They're a really big cruise line and they cruise all over the world. They're just behind Royal Caribbean, Norwegian and Carnival, coming in at 4th place. You will find MSC ships all over Europe, in America too. They cruise everywhere. The cruises that MSC have started up again with are what I would call the classic MSC loop. If you've done an MSC cruise in the Mediterranean, you'll know the loop that I'm talking about. I've actually done this loop twice. It is fantastic, one of my favourite cruise itineraries. The cruise starts in Genoa, it visits a few Italian ports, also visits Sicily and Malta, and it kind of just goes round and round, year after year, this same classic MSC loop. During the 8 sailings that MSC have had on board the MSC Grandiosa, they've had over 16,000 passengers. I'm so envious. I wish I was one of those 16,000. There's been loads of things on board, masks, social distancing. We've covered that enough in the other videos. One thing that I think is very interesting is that they do offer coronavirus insurance. So those 100 people that we mentioned earlier who were turned away due to either having coronavirus or cruising with someone who has coronavirus will have got their cruise refunded. I think a thing that a lot of people do worry about, and it makes perfect sense, is that people worry that they'll book a cruise, get to the cruise port, have coronavirus, be with someone that has coronavirus, and that's it, you're not allowed to board the cruise. At the moment, MSC are the only cruise line that I know of that are offering this coronavirus insurance, but I'm sure as more cruise lines start up, they'll also do the same thing. MSC have actually expanded now. They're not just doing the classic loop with Grandiosa, they've also got the MSC Magnifica, which I think is super exciting. The MSC Magnifica is doing slightly longer itineraries and slightly more varied. That ship is actually going down to Greece, which is very, very cool. The cruises on the Magnifica have already been pushed back a few times. They were supposed to start in August and then September, but now they finally are starting. And the MSC Magnifica is actually MSC's cruise ship that's supposed to be doing the world cruise in 2021. If you want a world cruise with MSC, MSC Magnifica should be your ship, and fingers crossed at some point in 2021, we're going to be ready for world cruises. Following on from MSC, Costa Cruises have also started up sailing, and they've currently got 3 cruise ships sailing, which is super exciting. I cannot for the life of me pronounce the name of this Costa cruise ship. Delizoiza? I don't know. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Diadema and Smeralda, I'm happy with pronouncing those. To me, I think the Costa Smeralda sounds like some sort of terrible infectious disease, but I would love to cruise on the Costa Smeralda. She looks like a fantastic cruise ship. Those 3 cruise ships are currently just doing 7-night cruises, all Italian ports, getting back to cruising for Costa. Costa do actually have a new cruise ship that's coming out in December, and where this cruise ship's going to be or what she's going to be doing, I'm not too sure. Apparently her maiden voyage was supposed to be doing a cruise out of Italy, then she was supposed to go over to Hong Kong, then she was going to be stationed near Singapore, then she was back in the Mediterranean. She has been moved so much. At the moment she's supposed to be in Europe and she'll be going over to China in late 2021, but that will be exciting. Costa are popping out new cruise ships like it's nobody's business. Way back in July, if you can remember back in July, we had some cruises for TUI Cruises, who are actually a German cruise line half owned by Royal Caribbean. They were one of the first cruise lines to come out with their new procedures, and so far their cruises have gone really, really well. At the moment, we've got the Mein Schiff 1 and the Mein Schiff 2 cruising from Germany. They're doing either 5-day or kind of short itineraries. They did start by doing cruises to nowhere, which I think is a brilliant way to start cruising. Let me know in the comments if you would like to cruise to nowhere, because right now I would love that. I don't even care if it doesn't go out to sea. If it just stays in port, I'll be there, that's fine. TUI Cruises have since expanded and they've got Mein Schiff 6 who is going to be cruising near Greece soon, which is super exciting. There's not many cruise lines cruising in Greece at the moment. MSC and Costa are also planning on going there soon, but for the moment it is TUI Cruises with Mein Schiff 6. Just a side note, all of the TUI Cruises ships are called Mein Schiff 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You get the picture. The thing is that order doesn't mean anything. They will occasionally change the names, move them around, get a new one. Now that's 2. It's very, very confusing. I wish they would just kind of add a new number on the end each time, but they don't exist just to make things easy for me. There was a little bit of a coronavirus scare on board Mein Schiff 6. A few of the crew members did test positive for coronavirus. At the moment, they haven't been confirmed. They have to go and do other tests on land, and it is suspected at the moment to be false positives. But I think even if they are positive, it shows how well the procedures work, that they managed to catch these people. It doesn't necessarily matter if people show up to get on the cruise ship and they have coronavirus. The important thing is that the cruise ship says no, doesn't let them on board, and keeps their cruise ships kind of these coronavirus safe havens for as long as they can. If you're somebody who's got maybe a little bit more money than me, you might know about SeaDream. SeaDream 1 and 2 are cruise ships that are sailing. They actually started sailing in Norway way back in July, and soon they're planning on heading to the Caribbean, which is super exciting. At the moment in the US, you're not allowed to cruise from the US, but this cruise line gets around that because it doesn't ever go into US waters. It just goes straight to the Caribbean. I have seen this cruise line described as the place that the billionaires go to get away from the millionaires. How true that is, I have no idea. I did do a quick booking just for myself, pretending I was sharing a cabin for 2. It was going to cost me around $3,000 upwards for 7 nights. But to be honest, when it comes to luxury cruising, paying $3,000 for 7 nights, that's really not very expensive. The actual cruises themselves around the Caribbean for SeaDream are going to be 6 or 8 nights long, and that comes after an epic transatlantic that I think is something like 21 nights long across from Norway down to the Caribbean. Crazy, crazy cool if you've got the money. The SeaDream doesn't have to follow all of the CDC's recommendations because the CDC's recommendations are for vessels of 250 and over, and the SeaDream is too small for that. I have seen things about the fact that they're not expecting passengers or guests to wear masks on SeaDream because they want it to be a really luxurious experience and they don't think masks are very luxurious. Maybe if you're someone who doesn't like wearing masks, you'll just have to upgrade to a luxury cruise line. Maybe that's the way it's going. Another cruise ship that's sailing is the Explorer Dream for Dream Cruises, and this is owned by Genting or Genting. I don't know how to say it. Every time I say either one, I get comments that tell me I'm wrong. So Genting/Genting. The interesting thing for me about this cruise ship is that she is actually the sister ship of the Norwegian Spirit, who is my favourite cruise ship. She's owned by Norwegian Cruise Line, and she was originally built as Superstar Leo. So she's got a sister in this cruise ship. They look very, very similar, and for me, having cruised on the Norwegian Spirit, to see inside this cruise ship, it's really, really cool. It seems to me at the moment that every couple of weeks a new cruise line is popping up somewhere in the world with cruises. We are making positive progress towards cruising again. I know it does feel difficult because we don't know when the end is in sight, but things are going in the right direction, and I think that's something to be grateful for and happy about. On December 1st, we are expecting to see our first Royal Caribbean cruise, which is so exciting. Unfortunately, it's not going to be doing a Caribbean cruise. It's not going to be cruising out of Southampton for me. It is going to be cruising out of Singapore, and they're actually doing 3 or 4 night cruises to nowhere again, which I think is a brilliant way to get sailing. Unfortunately, you're not able to do cruises to nowhere out of the US at the moment unless they repeal some kind of rules, but at the moment you can't do that. For me, I think it's a no-brainer. It makes so much sense to do a cruise to nowhere to test things, and I think we're all going to be watching this cruise on December 1st, a Royal Caribbean cruise sailing again. Can't wait. If you're from the US or you're from the UK, you're probably going to be looking at MSC Cruises as being one of the first cruise lines that will restart when they can. If you'd like to know what it's like to be on an MSC cruise from people and the crew who are actually on that cruise, check out this video next.